Hey friends, welcome back to Call Me After Coffee. My name is Bree. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been around for a while, thanks for coming back. Today I wanted to share with you my recent reads. This is going to be like my December wrap-up, but it's going to be the last wrap-up of 2020. So I'm just going to hop into the books and let you guys know what I read last month. The first book that I have on the pile here is The Prince Warriors by Priscilla Shirer and Gina Detweiler. This series is one of Rainer's absolute favorite series. He's 8 years old. He's read all 4 of these books. I think he's on his 5th reread. Like, he's almost finished with the last one for like the 5th time this year. He cannot put these books down. He just keeps picking them up and rereading them, and he loves them. We also got him, there is like a devotional that goes with the message of these books, and we got that for him for Christmas. He hasn't started it yet, which he probably could any day now. It's already the new year, but he was very excited to get the devotional. I didn't even know he knew it existed, but he did, and he was very excited to get it. But he really, really loves these books. They are filled with really sweet, wonderful messages about, you know, being kind to people even when they aren't kind to you, things like this. It's so sweet. I read this book so fast, and I did really enjoy it. It did pull at my heartstrings just because God is so loving, and it definitely shows in this book, and that was what was like making me tear up, all of these like sentimental type moments. Friends like going out on a limb for each other, taking care of each other. I loved that stuff. So I ended up giving it 5 stars. Rainer gave it all the stars. He gives all the books all the stars. He wants me to finish the series, so I will be trying to finish the series this year. And then the next one that I have here is A Boy Called Christmas by Matt Haig. This one I think I gave 4 stars to. I liked it, but I didn't love it. Like, some people love these books so much. I still want to finish the next 2. I don't know, I'll probably get to them next winter. But I thought it was a cute story. I thought it was funny. I definitely thought it had like some funny, quirky humor. There was little bits that reminded me of like Lemony Snicket type of like vibe, and I did like the funny little mouse and the deer. Like, it was a fun story. It wasn't my favorite story, but it was fun. So I was glad that I did finally get to this, and it was another really fast read. I didn't start 5 books this month, but or was it 1, 2, 3? No, I didn't start 6 books this month, but I finished 6 books this month. The next one is actually one that I read back for like middle grade March, I think, and then I decided to reread Snow and Rose by Emily Winfield Martin to Owl, and we started in like October or November, I think, and then we finished it in December. So that's why it's in this wrap-up, because technically I did read it again. I read the entire thing out loud, and she loved it. I would say to read on your own, like probably 9 or 10-year-olds, because there are a couple of like spooky parts, but Owl was fine, and I read it to her, and so if she had any questions, she was fine. But she loved the pictures in this book. This book has just this isn't, oopsies, dropping things, so maybe isn't one of the most interesting because it kind of looks like a dark blob, but this book has illustrations all through it, and they are just so stunning, and Adelaide loved the pictures, loved all the little watercolor, loved the little girls. Like, she loved this book, and it was funny because every time a picture would come up, she'd be like, oh, we get another picture, because we read a lot of books that don't have pictures in them, or they only have like 5 in the whole book, and so she always gets really excited when we get to one. It's about these 2 little girls and their mother, and their father goes missing, and they don't know what happened to him. They move out into the forest with their mom, and then there's all these like mysterious things, and I don't want to spoil anything. It's pretty easy to guess where it's gonna go, I think, from starting, like, from when you first realize what's happening, but it is just a fun little fairy tale, and the pictures make it so worthwhile, for sure. The next book that I have here is Called to Forgive by Anthony B. Thompson. This one is a Christian nonfiction, and I ended up giving this one a 2. I didn't actually finish it. I have a couple chapters left, but I ended up just putting it down. I started feeling like, as I was going through, for a book that was supposed to be based on forgiveness, there was definitely a blind spot for things that he still seemed very bitter towards. I don't want to go into too much detail on here, but if you want to know my complete thoughts, I did do a thorough review on Goodreads where I was able to try and articulate things better than I can just off the top of my head like this. But anyway, it felt a little hypocritical to me and I will leave it at that. If you want to know my more thorough thoughts, you can easily go over to my Goodreads. I think it's linked down below, and check out my review of this book. But I felt like he started out with a really good biblical basis and then kind of trailed off from there, and then it just kind of kept getting worse for me, and I just didn't agree with, not necessarily with what he was saying. There was a couple of things that I think were misquoted, but like I said, I think he had some blind spots, and I think there's obviously things that he just still has to work through, just like the rest of us still have to work through things. So I was sad that this didn't end up being what I originally thought it was going to be. And then the next book that I have here is Heidi by Joanna Spyri, and I loved this book. I loved it so much. I read it in like 2 sittings. It was so easy to read. I just think Heidi is like the sweetest little thing in the world. It was so wholesome. I just loved it. I love this story so much. If you don't know the story of Heidi, it's about this little girl who is orphaned, and her aunt leaves her with her grandfather, and then eventually comes back, takes her, and then she has to live with this rich family in town and be like a friend to this little girl. And she just has the most like wonderful personality for looking for the bright side, which is like I think how we should all be. We should all try and find like joy in the situations around us. And I just loved this, and I don't want to like spoil the ending for anyone who hasn't read it yet, but it's just such a sweet, heartwarming story. Heidi just loves everyone. I love all the characters. It was so heartwarming, and it was just what I needed. It's so sweet, and I just loved it so much. And then the last book that I read in 2020 was Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. This one was a reread for me. I really, really love this book. I didn't expect to love it as much as I did the first time. Like, I thought it was gonna be fun, but then I really enjoyed it. And then upon reread, there were more things that I noticed that I hadn't in the first place that I really loved. I just really enjoyed this one. I love the whimsy of it. One of my favorite scenes is there's a particular scene with Peter and a seagull, or a never bird maybe it's called. Anyway, that scene alone is like I don't know why I find it so funny, but I always just think it is. I listened to the audiobook this time while I read along, and it was really fun, and I loved the whimsy of it. There's a lot that I loved. I loved the way that it's sort of like you have to suspend disbelief. It's got like, there's this part where Mrs. Darling, like after the kids go to bed, it talks about like opening up their minds or something and unpacking them like a box. And there are just certain things in here where you're like, did that really happen? Or is this like metaphorical? And it's really hard to like go between the two. But if you just roll with it and you suspend disbelief, I loved Peter Pan. I feel like I need to talk to somebody who also has read it to like be able to talk about all the things that I really love about it, because they're spoilery if you're dissecting the story too much. But I really did enjoy this, and I will definitely be reading it again. Alright guys, that's everything that I've got for today's video. Let me know down below, have you read any of these? Did you enjoy any of these? What did you read in December? What was your favorite read? What was your least favorite read? All that good stuff. Let me know down below, and while you're down there, if you haven't already, please subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss future notifications, and I will talk to you guys all soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.